Hello, I wonder why I'm showing you these rather rubbish pictures. Well, this video isn't really about the art, which is just as well because it's not that good, is it? It's about the meaning behind it, what happened, why this came about. I'd like to take you back in time to around 1990, 1991, when the whole crop circle thing was at its height. There was a kind of frenzy down in Wiltshire, especially in Wiltshire, in Hampshire, but mostly centred around Wiltshire. There was a frenzy of people trying to work out what the meaning of it all was so that they could be the one that found out the answer to the mystery of what was making these marks in the wheat and barley fields. And it brought out all sorts of people. Now, I'm not doing this video to be in any way, shape or form nasty to the people that were involved. This was all a bit of fun because it was a bit of a circus and a bit silly, and I happened to be, just by coincidence, in the middle of it all, which was really quite fun for me because I wasn't taking it remotely seriously after I'd seen a few crop things, patterns, which were very good and nice and, unusual at the time. Some of them, like the one at Barbary Castle, was quite wow and so forth. But I got bored of them quite quickly because unless you're looking at them from top of a hill, you're just walking around a load of flat corn or crop or whatever, and it gets a little bit tedious. And if you're a bit more of an expressive artist like me, it gets a bit regimented, and although you can admire the skill of it, you don't really get much out of it in any other way, especially if you're not finding it a spiritual phenomena, but rather an artistic endeavour by some people, mostly blokes. And I knew pretty much from the beginning that this was the case, that they were made by some blokes. I didn't quite know exactly at the beginning how they were doing them, but yeah, it was man-made. It was clearly man-made. It was just another example of how clever people were at making things like the Sistine Chapel, for instance, or any other great work of architecture or art or anything that we're capable of. And people say, no, you couldn't do that. Well, people have proved that wrong over and over again. And I'm sure that in comparison to some of the great works, that flattening some crop in the dark is just a logistical problem and not really a great... It's not beyond the scope of human capability. It really isn't, and I can prove that for a fact because I've known I've known a great deal of people that do the stuff, that flatten the crop, and that they won't want mentioning, and I'm not going to mention them, but I am going to mention the people that were around in 1990-91 when I was involved in it, and I was kind of people watching rather than trying to solve the mystery. And I'm not going to mention this person's full name, but there was somebody called Rob who was right in the middle of all the furore and all the people, the main faces that were involved in trying to sort it out and solve it so they could write their book or do their lecture tour about it or whatever. And he was a very provocative and figure who liked to stir things up. He was a bit of a puckish type chap who liked to play one thing off against the other, and in doing so he encouraged me to take these caricatures along, which I'd rushed out. They're very rough. I'd rushed them out on somebody's floor, I think the day before, just very quickly, so that I could take them down to the Friday night meeting at the Wagon and Horses, which is a pub by Avebury Stone Circle in Wiltshire, where all the aficionados of crop circling gathered to chew over who had the best knowledge and just basically pull one-upmanship over each other, and it was all very stern and serious business, very serious, but I wasn't taking it like that. Anyway, I did these because I could see there was a lot of humour going on. I mainly did them for my own enjoyment, but I would thought it would have been fun if some people could have seen them and taken them in the spirit they were done. Now, bearing in mind, these are rough. They are how many years old? 90. I can't even count. Oh, I'm doing so well. Well, we're talking about 30 years old or something, aren't we? Really? Yeah. So, yeah, they've not only not survived that very well, but also they were in the house that I was living in not so long ago that was so riddled with damp. There was water running down the walls, which ruined so many of my things, including these. There's water running down them. They're all water damaged. Anyway, I just wanted to show you and explain how daft this all was. So, this one first. Around this time, these two gentlemen in the top right-hand corner, Doug and Dave, I think at least one of them has passed away now, but maybe possibly two of them. Two gentlemen from Hampshire came out and said that they were making these things with rollers, hence the roller. So, in this picture, we have them getting on with their business, while in front of them we have Mr. Pat Delgado, who I think also might have passed away by now. And I've depicted him as a bit of a jester because he did seem to be coming out and saying and doing things that were rather bizarre to my mind anyway. But he thought that he had the handle on everything and was right in the centre of crop circle. I'm going to call them the Illuminati then. The elite crop circle working people. Anyway, he was in the middle of it all. So I've got him as a jester in front of them, ignoring the two blokes that are making the actual crop thing. And he's saying, "There's no doubt about this one, a superb glyph. This is certainly the real thing." So did that one, which I was quite pleased with. Then we move on to this one here, which depicts a man called Terence Meaden. Now, I used to see Terence Meaden. He had an office above a garage in Bradford-on-Avon, and he was a scientist. I'm not quite sure what sort, or I don't know. He had some sort of technical background, but he'd developed a theory about plasma vortexes, plasma vortexes creating crop circles. And of course, they'd all have to be round, and some of them by this stage were quite complex and had lots of lines and keys and spurs and things coming off them. But he said that only the round ones were genuinely made by plasma vortexes. So I have him spinning, looking very smug, and butter wouldn't melt in his mouth because he's found the answer, and he's floating in his vortex. Well, down here we have a man called George Wingfield. Now, I'm not quite sure who or what George Wingfield was, but he was very prominent in the whole thing as an authority on, I don't know, but anyway. So he's saying, "Holy electrified spinning air, I think I've seen the light. I'm having a religious experience." So there was a whole air about this whole crop circle thing in that 1991 time, that it had to be something paranormal or something unexplained, something extraterrestrial. So, yes, that was the point of that one. I have to say, although these are really rough and rushed out because I wanted to have them on in the meeting very quickly, and I didn't have anywhere to work at the time, and as you can see, they're completely wrecked and damaged by the water and everything now. They do look like the people that were involved, actually, which if they hadn't, I wouldn't have bothered, because I wasn't going to show anybody something that was this rough that didn't even look like them. But they did actually look like the people involved. They were very recognisable. If anybody is aware of the people, then you'll recognise them too. And here, oh, this one's really water stained. Here we have Busty Taylor, who used to fly over the crop things and take pictures, and Jürgen Kronig, who is sitting on ein UFO. I think his angle must have been the extraterrestrial one. And we have again George Wingfield, who is flying like Superman, and they're all going towards Beckhampton, which is where the Wagon and Horses pub was, where they all met. And there's Silbury Hill, and we have down here the TV crew going, "Talk to us," pointing up at the sky as these people flyby to the pub. Last one at the bar buys the first round, chaps. It was all very blokey. There were a couple of women involved. One was Rita Gould, who was a materialisation medium, which meant that she could actually make dead people appear. But she was quite fraudulent. I'm sorry, Rita, I shouldn't really defame people, but there was instances where she did things that were not very ethical as regards this, which put her reputation into somewhat of question. I don't even know whether poor old Rita is alive now or not. The last time I saw her, I was nearly going to buy her mobile home at Avebury. That was 1995 or something, so I don't even know whether she's still with us either. I don't know whether any of these people, I think Busty Taylor's still with us, but I don't know about the rest of them. Anyway, so they're very harmless, these things, aren't they? They're just silly caricatures. They're not vindictive, they're just silly, really. And here's the final one, little one. This was Colin Andrews, who seemed like a perfectly nice chap. I think he was somebody official at the Test Valley something or other in Hampshire. Anyway, and his angle at this point was looking at native tribes and their prophecies, and he thought that the Hopi Native American tribes were saying things that predicted the earth was going to do this, and it meant something about the end of something or other. I don't know. Anyway, so I've got him dressed in his rather silly native outfit with saying, "The ropey and gropey peoples are the only true way to look at the circles." Ooh, I think my paradigm just shifted, because he's wearing a little loincloth thing. Yeah, everybody was talking about paradigm shifts this time. Your paradigm has to shift to understand the phenomena of the circles. And while he's doing this dance in his little circle, in the background, the TV crew are filming plasma vortexes and UFOs and flares, because I remember one particular crop watch I went on one evening just to see what happened, and people standing on top of a hill in Wiltshire looking at flares being fired from Salisbury Plain and thinking they were UFOs. There you go. Anyway, I'm sorry. I do have a lot of irreverence in me, and I did find that this was just a comedy of human behaviour, because everybody just wanted to know and have the answer. And I can remember being I wasn't welcome, by the way. I wasn't welcome at the inner circle of the Wagon and Horses meetings, because I wasn't anybody particular, and I was not taking it seriously. And I didn't really have anything to offer, except for the fact that I'd seen a lot of circles. And yes, you'd hear people say things like, "Well, I have been told the truth about it, but I'm not at liberty to say." Things like that. Meanwhile, I was getting more and more to know the fact that blokes generally, not all blokes, but blokes made these things with boards. Rollers perhaps, but boards mostly. Stomping boards they were called, and still are probably. Anyway, so this naughty Rob chap, who I won't name in full, decided he was going to slap these down. And bearing in mind they were a little bit better then. They were freshly done, so they weren't quite so wrecked as they look now. He slaps them down in the middle of their conference table and says, "Look at these." And he's chortling away to himself, and I'm pretty mortified, because I know that they're not going to like them. They're just not. They haven't got the humour. All they want to know is they want to be the one with the answer. So yeah, that went down really well, and I just had to put them away again. And they've kind of languished in my case, getting water damaged and so forth over the years. And I thought I'd get them out just because it's a funny time to share with you about something that seems very long ago now. It was kind of innocent and silly. Here's a bit of silliness as well. This is camera shadow. You're not going to be able to see this properly. Okay, there you go. This is a photograph taken of the car that me and my friend turned up to the meeting in, and he decided to write in the filthy dirt on the back of his car, "Crop circles hoax to order, book now for 1992." And we parked that outside the Wagon and Horses when they went in for their meeting, and one of them must have come out and seen it, and he came rushing back in. "Whose is that car?" They were absolutely furious. That hoaxers were among them, and yeah. Anyway, it was. I know I'm very childish in some respects, but I do enjoy silliness when there should be just laughter instead of all this intensity about something that was really just some flattened crop and some blokes at night doing quite clever things. Yes. Anyway, George Wingfield, there he is, noticed that I was turning up to quite a lot of these things with the aforementioned Rob, and just sitting quietly and observing. I was doing the people watching thing. I was hoping actually to write my own book about it, about just the people, not to name names or anything, but just to sort of use it as the basis of a novel. So I was just observing, really, and he noticed me turning up to more and more things and kind of being around, and he decided that I was MI5 or MI6, whichever one it is. I was a secret agent infiltrating them. I was actually a school teacher in North London, but he didn't care about that. Actually, yeah, I'd been sent to spread disinformation, apparently, about the true nature of these things, which were, Andy, what's his name? Andrew Collins, great author. He had his theory about the orgone energy creating them, and most people thought that they were coming from either the Earth or the extraterrestrials or something other than people had to be doing it. Yeah, so it was there was a lot resting on it. Colin Andrews got TV crew there, and it was very full on. I wish you'd been there. It was fun. It was fun if you could just stand back and enjoy it and not get too het up about proving what was what. And after that, I kind of lost interest, and that was quite a long time ago, because, like I said, if you've seen one flattened bit of crop, you've seen them all, really. I do admire it. I know enough people that make them, and I know what goes into them. I know the planning and the meticulous, almost military operation that it is to get them done. And if you do them properly and you are professional about it, you do not damage the crop in any way, and it can be harvested. And I just don't see it as something that I like being out in the land. The land was fantastic. That was the big draw for me, being out in marvellous Wiltshire and Hampshire and so forth, looking at the land. But as for these kind of cookie cutter things in the crop, knowing that they were made by people and admiring the fact that they were made by people, because people are endlessly resourceful, aren't they? Yeah. But besides that, it's a long time later and people are still scratching their heads and having arguments about these things. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, isn't it wonderful that they're made by people? That's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I thought it would be something a little bit different, just a time that is fun to share with you. I hope I haven't offended anybody who thinks that these things are still thinks these things are some spiritual message. If that's what they are to you, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. But don't trash me for knowing that they're not. Basically, I wish they were. It'd be great, wouldn't it? It'd be fantastic. But then, why would some extraterrestrial or whatever force just choose to do this once a year in Wiltshire and Hampshire and surrounding areas? Wouldn't they be making these signs in all sorts of different medium around the world, everywhere, if it was that important? But no, they just stick to these fields in Wiltshire, probably because the blokes know where they are. Anyway. I don't want to trash anybody's thing. Enjoy them, just enjoy them. Go out in this lovely land and enjoy them. That's all there is to it. And if these blokes had enjoyed them a bit more, it wouldn't have been quite such an intense thing. Anyway, lots of love. Thanks for watching. That was quite fun for me. I hope it was for you too. Bye.